Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. The Night of the Hunter is a 1955 thriller that's directed by Charles Laughton. It stars Robert Mitchum, Shelley Winters, and Lillian Gish. The screenplay was done by James Agee, and that was based on a 1953 novel of the same name by Davis Grubb. The novel and the film draw on a true story of Harry Powers, who was hanged in 1932 for the murder of 2 widows and 3 children in Clarksburg, West Virginia. In the film, the Reverend Harry Powell is on a diabolical mission to eradicate sin. He's a woman-hating serial killer preacher with a sharp switchblade. He discovers the secret of a condemned bank robber named Ben Harper, who has hidden $10,000 somewhere around his decrepit farmhouse. The silver-tongued preacher embarks on an evil quest to woo Ben's poor widow, Willa, and above all, talk Ben's little children, John and Pearl, into letting him in on the exact location of the loot that he's hidden. Little John stubbornly refuses to reveal his father's secret. But as it turns out, no one is safe around this psychopathic preacher who has it in his mind that all women must suffer in the name of the Lord. I tell you what, this is a powerful movie, and it's one that I just recently watched for the first time, and what a pleasure it was. Don't let this one slip past you. The famous actor Charles Laughton makes his directorial debut, and this is one and only director job as far as films go. He supposedly worked really well with the little boy playing John, but he didn't get along with the little girl Pearl at all, and he shouted at her on numerous occasions. He continued to have the camera rolling, so he filmed all the scenes where he was yelling at her. The camera often caught her reaction to him. Some of these outtakes were used in the final editing process as reaction shots to the preacher's character. Robert Mitchum, who usually doesn't comment on these matters, said that Charles Laughton was one of his favorite directors during his entire career, and this was one of the favorite movies that he ever acted in. Mitchum was really eager to play this part once he learned about it. He auditioned for it with Charles Laughton, and Laughton was immediately sold on the actor. He can play an evil, diabolical person on screen. The movie's poor critical reviews at the time that it was released is said to be the reason that Charles Laughton never directed another feature film. And I'm sure this has a major part in his decision not to do one. But Laughton himself stated that he really preferred directing in the theater as opposed to feature films. He felt that there you could constantly change and amend the production, adding lines, changing lighting and sets. But in film, once you're done, it could never be changed. The producer, Paul Gregory, and the director presented key members of the crew, like the cinematographer, Stanley Cortez, each with a 1% interest in the film. This was given to them on top of their salaries, and this is just something that was never done. They said they did this not to encourage the artist, but to reward them for their artistry. United Artists objected to this strongly. The director kind of described the film as a nightmarish sort of Mother Goose tale. And I have to say that's pretty close to being right. Almost the entire thing was shot on a sound stage. And the scene where the children get away in a rowboat, leaving the frustrated knife-wielding preacher chest deep in the water, was filmed in a backlot water tank. Robert Mitchum was really crouched down in the water as the level was really fairly shallow. In order to promote the movie, Robert Mitchum and Shelley Winters did a guest shot on the Ed Sullivan Show. That was in the spring of 1955. Winters recounted in her autobiography how the stress of doing live television caused Mitchum to drink heavily and caused her to basically act numb. The two got into costume, with Mitchum displaying the words love and hate on his hands as it was in the picture, and they went on to perform a snapshot of a scene that was performed really badly. Winters said that she was stuttering through her lines, while Mitchum spoke so quietly that the microphones they had on had to be cranked up so loud that millions of viewers across the U.S. could hear their stomachs growling. Mitchum had originally suggested to the director that they shoot the film in authentic Appalachian locations, but the director couldn't afford to do it on location because the budget was just too small. And he also wanted to create the film's unique look that he could only achieve by doing it on a Hollywood soundstage. The underwater shot of Shelley Winters' corpse in the Ford automobile was the last one that they filmed. It was so convincing that many people, when they saw the finished film, thought that Shelley Winters was actually holding her breath and that it wasn't a dummy under the water. It's a pretty masterful shot. That underwater sequence creates such an eerie feeling, and the underwater cameraman was dressed in full scuba gear and outfit and had a camera that was held by him on a hook. The tank that they used to film this at was at Republic Pictures, but initially they were going to use the one on Fox's lot. But after looking at it, the paint on the inside of the tank was flaking off, and they tried it, but it made the water murky and not clear. The original script called for Willa's hair in that shot to cover the slit in her throat, but the director chose to film it just as Uncle Bertie saw it. Although the movie had a 36-day filming schedule, United Artists allowed Stanley Kramer's film, Not as a Stranger, which Robert Mitchum was cast in, to begin shooting before Hunter was finished. Some of the scenes with Mitchum, such as his arrest by the police, had not been shot yet, and Mitchum had to leave to start work on the Kramer film. These scenes had to be shot when Mitchum had some time off, and this all contributed to the film going over budget. Robert Mitchum's drinking was somewhat of a problem during this film shoot. One day he arrived on the set so drunk that the producer told him that he was in no condition to work. Mitchum took offense to this, and he walked over to the producer's Cadillac, opened the door, and urinated on his front seat. This, without a doubt, put some tension in the production. If you've never seen this film, you've got to watch it. This is one of my favorite sleeper films that I myself had never seen, and I watched it recently, and holy cow, this is a good one. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.